This week there was a national outcry over an incident on a Ryanair flight. A white man being offensive to a black woman was filmed by another passenger. It's been viewed online by millions of people. The cabin crew was criticised for not throwing the man off the plane. Of course, this is Black History Month with lots of events. Earlier this week I went to the Theatre Royal in Norwich to speak to stand-up comedian Nelson Gombakomba. So your reaction when you saw that on the plane?
Yes.
What did you think?
First impressions, my first impression was that I wasn't at all surprised or shocked. This is quite a common thing. This is not the first time anyone has ever complained about, I guess a person of color sitting next to them. But this is now interesting because for the first time, or we're in an era where there's social media and camera phones everywhere, these issues are now being brought to the public eye. So
have you had something like that happen to you?
I've heard different versions of it, subtle versions of it, maybe not as harsh or as loud, but just slightly different versions of that particular experience where someone makes it clear that your presence makes them uncomfortable, and in most cases than not, it just happens to be, I guess, skin color. That's what they base it on. But this is an issue of ignorance and entitlement, as I've seen. So, going through situations like that, you then start realizing a common theme. So,
how do you deal with it then? When if somebody says something to you, or you get the feeling that they don't think that you should be there, how do you deal with that?
Well, surprisingly enough, and I think quite a lot of black people might agree with me on this one, it's, of course, there's the anger, the initial anger of it, but it's surprisingly not as uncommon as you'd like to think. It's quite common, but it happens in subtle ways.
So you just ignore it, do you?
Yeah, quite a lot of times. It's subtle, so do you want to go through the whole stress of taking someone to court and, going through all that paperwork? No, you just, a lot of the time, you just carry on with your day.
We've just had a Black History Month.
Yes.
Does something like that help?
You can use Black History Month to highlight just how rich the culture is, just how diverse, blackness is, and just how there's multiple perspectives. And if you use it for that reason, then whoever attends these shows or whoever is invested in learning more can truly appreciate just how deep the culture is. It has a positive impact. So it depends on how you want to look at Black History Month. I personally think it shouldn't just be a month. It should be like 2 or 3.
It should be a lifetime.
It should be a lifetime.
Despite all of our problems here,
yeah,
would you live anywhere else?
I do quite like Norwich. I do actually quite like Norwich. First time I came in, Stuart, I saw the sign Nelson's County, and I knew, I kind of thought, okay, this is a sign, literally. Here is quite fine. I quite like it.
Nelson, it's great to be in your county. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Stuart. Thank you. I appreciate that.
James Cleverly, your mother was from Sierra Leone?
Sierra Leone, yeah.
Have you, he says it's not uncommon, that kind of attitude from people. Have you experienced that?
I don't get so much of that now. I did when I was growing up. I grew up in southeast London. I don't get so much of that now, and I suppose that's a byproduct of my age, the job that I do. But I do know it still exists. I saw that footage, that Ryanair footage, online just after watching the Doctor Who episode, which was about Rosa Parks on the bus, set decades earlier. And the idea that somehow that situation no longer affects black people in Britain, I think, as we've now seen, is just not true. And it shows that however much progress we've made, and we have made so very much progress, there is still work to be done.
Man has apologised. Does that make a difference?
it's good that he's apologised. It would be better that it never happened in the first place.
And I mean, Milton Keynes is very multicultural.
Yeah, we're multicultural in so many ways. Everybody in one way or another has moved to Milton Keynes because of the nature of the new town and the place. We've got, I think it's 120 languages spoken in Milton Keynes and loads of diverse communities. But I agree with James. I think there is a certain set of the community of which probably I belong, you know, white middle class people that went to university, that live in metropolitan areas, that think this is an issue that we put in a box and got rid of in the 1970s,
and we didn't.
And it's just not true. And some of those underlying problems are there, not just actually when we talk about relationships with minority communities, but our relationships with women and things like that. And I think those underlying trends, they never went away, and we need to tackle them.
Let's have a quick look at our roundup of the political week in 60 seconds with Deborah McGurran.